First, I just want to take the opportunity just to address the topic of the off-season trip, which some of our players went on at the end of last year. As a football club, we were initially reluctant to speak on this because as a club we don't really comment on the publicity of our players' personal lives and relationships. But now I feel the need to speak on behalf of the club and in support of our players when their partners and families were brought into this following some poor, insensitive and factually incorrect media reporting. The trip we're talking about took place back in October, November last year during the players' annual leave. I want to confirm that there was no crisis meetings over the weekend. I called our co-captains to confirm that there was no issues within the playing group, and both of them assured me that there weren't. I will again strongly say today there is no divide in our playing group, and our leaders have again confirmed this, and some of you people here today are around our football club enough, so I'd ask you the questions: have you seen anything that would suggest there is a divide amongst our playing group? The trip's also not the reason why we are at 0-3 at the minute. We produced an impressive pre-season campaign that ended with 2 pre-season game wins. We've had some strong performances in those games. We've had some good patches throughout the first 3 games of this year, and we've had some not so good performances in quarters throughout this year. And as a playing group, we just need to get our consistency up over a 4-quarter period. So the trip has nothing to do with our on-performance, and we'll be not using it as any type of excuse as such. As Fags mentioned in his press conference, we still have 20 games to go, and we are confident our playing group will find their best form. This group has been through a lot of highs together and a lot of adversities together, and we have full confidence in them. They will continue to stick together. I want to assure our members and fans, most importantly, that this group is fully united as a playing group and fully focused on turning our season around. We as a football club will not be commenting on this matter any further, and I ask that the privacy of our players, their partners and families be respected. That's the last on that matter. I also, on behalf of the footy club, want to congratulate Tom Hawkins on his 350th AFL game today. He's a superstar of the competition on and off the field, and we wish him all the best. And these are the stories we should be celebrating as an industry. I'm open to any questions.
So I assume that you won't be able to share with us who the players are?
No, I'm not going to share that information. Again, that's personal nature. We won't be going down that path.
Are you comfortable with the transparency of the whole incident?
What was that, sorry, mate?
Are you comfortable with how transparent that everyone's been through this? Because Lee Matthews, for example, said he wasn't aware of it until told.
Well, there are some issues which we don't need to be aware of. It's the end of season trip of our players. They're on leave. And whatever happened on that trip wasn't to the extent that the football club needed to know about it. There's no policies or anything that they went outside of that we need to address. And again, and I'll keep saying this, the issues are of a personal nature, and that's where it'll be left. Please respect each individual at our football club and the personal nature of this.
When was the football department aware of the trip and the incidents that have been referred to?
Well, again, the trip is in their off-season, so we're aware all our players go on holidays in the off-season and do what they need to do. In terms of what was brought out on the weekend, that's when it basically came to our advice or notice that potentially there might be something there. But as I said, we reached out to our leaders, our co-captains, and they reassured us there was nothing there. There's no story. It's not the reason why we're 0-3. So that's when it became our public knowledge.
So you were blindsided by the Herald Sun report as well?
100%. 100%.
So that meeting, what are some of the reasons they give for the slow start of the season?
The players? The meeting, which meeting?
The one you said you spoke to.
I quickly spoke to our leaders over the phone. There was no meeting per se. I spoke to both leaders for about 1 minute, just asking if there was any truth in it. They categorically told me there wasn't. I trust my playing group. I'll always trust our playing group. So that's where it basically finished. So there was no meeting.
That was the extent of the phone call?
Nothing, just a phone call. Quick phone call. Club didn't have a crisis meeting. We were here Friday watching our VFL have a great win over Collingwood in a great game of football. Swanee and Andrew Wellington were here. Fags was in Melbourne watching North Melbourne play. Wasn't even discussed.
What have you seen since the Thursday that gives you confidence that you can turn it around? Because the Lions over the last few years have gone pretty well, and there's a fair bit of heat suddenly.
Oh, of course there is. It's 0-3. There will always be heats on performances. But again, as I said, we've played some really good footy in patches this year. It's just the consistency of our performance which we need to straighten out a little bit. And I don't think we're giving much credit to the opposition either. Like Carlton played in a prelim last year in a 3-0 and playing some good football. Fremantle a 3-0, going to be hard to beat at home. Collingwood, they went through their own adversity last week and they came out and played some really strong football. So we've come up against some pretty good opposition as well. But again, we need to straighten a few things out on field in our performances and the way we're playing. And as I said, I've got great confidence in our players will do that.
It's been reported that the players' relationships have ended. Is there any truth to that?
No.
So that hasn't happened.
In terms of,
Has there been players that have had their relationships ended from partners seeing things in the WhatsApp group?
as a result of the trip, no. What players' relationships are like off field, again, that's their personal business, and we don't step into that matter. But no.
How's Chris going? He's had a lot of off-field noise, things going on off-field as well. What are you saying to him to make sure that he's the guy that can...
Fags?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, he's been in Melbourne all weekend, so we've spent a fair bit of time on the phone. He's obviously disappointed with our starts of the year. He's obviously, as a senior coach of the football club, putting all his energy into that and making sure we get our players back on track. Any off-field issues like this one that's come up, he'll obviously leave for myself and Swanee to handle, and we just communicate with him what's going on. But his sole focus right now is to get our football team on the field performance up and about.
Will there be any changes to the way the club approaches time from the club and players' personal time away from the club, or are you happy to just let the players up to their own devices?
Well, as a football club, and the PA arrangements, we're not allowed to really determine what the players do in their off-season. They obviously have to do a whereabouts to the AFL or where they at, but outside of that, they're off limits in terms of our contact with them or communication.
We're probably not used to seeing players play with such a lack of confidence, maybe, some of them over the last few years. I'm sure you've been thinking about this, or I know you can't just turn it on and off, but what do you put that down to with some of your, particularly some of your sort of more experienced, higher performing guys?
It's a good question. You wonder sometimes if they're trying too hard. They're all been different reasons, but on the weekend, I think we dropped like 9 marks inside 50, which is unlike us. So it's not that they're not doing any craft or they're not training well. It's sometimes it can be a confidence thing. So we need our players just to keep working hard, keep doing their craft, and we're sure it'll turn. But when you talk about 9 drop marks inside 50, even if you take 5 of those and you're having shots on goal, it's a big difference. So there's a lot of little things. Again, we just need to tidy them all up and hopefully we can get back on track.
Last year's gather round, at a similar time, you lost a couple of games, but you had a good performance there and a good, a good triple A down to Adelaide. Is this the sort of thing that the club needs right now? Get away and have a strong performance down there?
Hopefully it helps. It'd be nice to get down to Adelaide on Wednesday and spend a bit of time together and get around the community and do appearances, which our players need to do. But I think we've got 3 trips in the next 4 weeks, so it'll certainly galvanise us and we'll spend a bit of time together. And as I said, we're only a win away from the season starting again for us. And as I mentioned, there's 20 games left, and it's a great opportunity to get away together and hopefully get a win against North Melbourne, who are also 0-3, but they're playing some good, exciting football as well. So it's going to be a hard battle and a hard challenge for us.
I know you're saying that this hasn't affected the on-field performance, but is it concerning that the stories come out now that the team is 0-3 rather than several months ago?
You're always looking for reasons as to why teams are off to a poor start in the year. So we can look at everything, and if someone's decided to go down the track of looking at some stuff off field, well, we can't control that. But what we can control is the culture that we have around the football club, how we behave, and nothing's changed insofar as that over the last 7 months. So again, it's just about getting the W on the board and getting our season up and running.
What does Lockie have to do to make sure he gets to the line and play this weekend?
Yeah, well, he had a scan on his ankle, which came up all clear. Obviously, he sprained his ankle and it was a bit sore and sorry after the game. He obviously didn't train today. We just kept him off track, and he'll do some swimming, etc., off legs. But he'll have to train Wednesday and get through. But we're quite confident that he'll be right to play.